Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Freunde.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends of Biovision, it's a great honor and pleasure me to welcome you to the Biovision Symposium from now field to fork. And I also would like to welcome those that have come here to the Volkshaus, but also those that are back home and watching the live broadcast of the event at home. My name is Frank Ayvon. I have been the managing director of Biovision for the last 2 years, and I have the pleasure to lead you through the program together with Laura Angelsholt. I also would like to extend a warm welcome. I work in communications at Biovision and have the wonderful task of compiling the pictures and videos we receive from the projects into exciting stories. Today I have the pleasure to guide you through the first part of the afternoon. Together we will dive into the exciting topic of diversity in the fields in East Africa, from the tiny seed to the adult plant in the field and even beyond as a product or food in the store or on the market. 15:30 we have a little break. And after the break, we leave the African continent and we're going to listen into the soil and we'll share about the diversity here in Switzerland, how we can promote it. And we invited some renowned guests to discuss this with them. And as a crowning finale, we are going to end the symposium together with Hans Rudolf Herren, our Biovision founder. And I'm so happy that you're here in person. A warm welcome to you, Hans Rudolf. Well, Frank, let's get specific now. What exactly is this all about, and why are we devoting an entire symposium to the topic of diversity? What we eat and how we produce food shapes the image of the earth and of our societies more than any other human activity. If we look from above, it becomes clear. Globally, agriculture is the most important factor in the loss of biodiversity and also fertile soils. And in addition, agriculture is responsible for about 70% of water consumption and 30% of global emissions of greenhouse gases from the field to the fork. In particular, livestock breeding and also synthetic pesticides and fertilizers play a role. And although it doesn't look like on the picture, but half of what we import makes us being part of the responsible groups for what happens on Earth. And at the same time, the global food system, the way we know it today, doesn't really play up to what it should be. Millions of people are having malnutrition or are poor and having hunger, and even those that are producing agricultural products are living in poverty, and also in the same time the system is not very efficient. 1/3 of the products that we are producing are just wasted, thrown away, and all in all it cannot go on like this. And at this year UN World Food Summit of September, that was also what they said. Business as usual is not an option. And we really need to do something. We need new approaches. But which ones, and how can we continue? And we saw that there's a tailwind for the Biovision approach together with many other organizations, which is agroecology. This is on the rise, managing in harmony with nature and for people. Locally adjusted production methods. This approach is actually having a key role of diversity. A diversity in cultivation, as what you see on the picture here in Kenya. It's a very nice, varied landscape But when we look at marketing, how do the products end up with the consumers? And that's also a very big topic. The variety of marketing channels, how products reach the consumer. And last but not least, diversity from field to fork. We are the ones deciding what we want to eat, hopefully, and we are also deciding how to product and how to consume and market. And this is why all these topics are so important, and we have decided to devote a full symposium to the topic. And you will see it's a topic of diversity. And now let's go to the field of production, and Laura, my colleague, is now going to take us to a wonderful trip to see what diversity means. And we are going to see each other again after the break, and I wish you lots of fun and lots to be shared. Thank you. Yes, diversity starts with the smallest of things. That's right, we're talking about seeds. And how important it is to have access to seeds and variety of seeds, locally produced seeds, shows the video with the farmers of Western Kenya. We are going to show how Biovision, with 2 other partners, has managed to work in the community of Vihiga in Western Kenya and to develop a seed bank.
Weltweit machen die 3 Grundnahrungsmittel Reis, Weizen und Mais die Hälfte des gesamten Kalorienverbrauchs aus. Einheimische Gemüse- und Obstsorten, reich an biologischer Vielfalt, sind bedroht. Sie werden durch nährstoffarme Pflanzen ersetzt, die weniger widerstandsfähig gegenüber dem Klimawandel, Schädlingen oder Krankheiten sind. Unterernährung, Fettleibigkeit, Vitamin- und Mineralstoffmangel werden zu ernsthaften Problemen.
Starts from the farm.
Es beginnt auf dem Bauernhof. Wenn wir über Ernährung sprechen, müssen wir...
It starts with the farm. When we have to talk about nutrition, we also have to talk about locally produced goods. And we would like to share with the families that they get some healthy food on their tables. And we have to say that many of our local produced varieties are threatened.
Im Westen Kenias bewahren Forscherinnen und Bauern einheimisches Saatgut auf. Die Landwirte werden darin geschult, wie sie nährstoffreiche einheimische Pflanzen anbauen können. Früher bauten wir Mais und Grünkohl an, also Gemüse, das nicht lange zum Wachsen braucht, bis man uns die Bedeutung von traditionellem Gemüse beigebracht hat. Jetzt wollen wir nur noch einheimische Sorten essen, damit wir Energie haben und unsere Kinder gesund bleiben. Es soll auch unsere Kinder ermutigen, ihre Gesundheit zu erhalten. Die Landwirte können sicher sein, dass sie hochwertiges Saatgut erhalten. Sie profitieren mehrfach, sie erzielen mehr Einkommen und können sich ausgewogen ernähren.
Mostly what we do in the seed bank, we're exchanging seed.
In der Saatgutbank tauschen wir vor allem Saatgut aus und bewahren es für weitere.
We are exchanging seed, and we are also keeping it for the next production. And I have actually doubled my income through the seeds and also the varieties that grew much better due to the locally grown seeds. And this is my vision that I can actually, this is my dream. This video has impressively shown us what hope such small things as a seed can bring to people. But for a seed to thrive and, to get to this wonderful corn, the other facts must also be right. For example, enough water, no pests, or the nutrients of the soil have also to be managed and must give everything to the soil so that at the end of the day we have a wonderful piece of corn. Well, this makes me wonder, is this hope of people justified in these projects? Does high diversity in the field really make such a big difference? Fortunately, I don't have to answer this question myself, and now welcome my colleague and program officer for environment and plant health, Fabian Kohler.
Fabian, what a wonderful surprise to have you here today too. As I mentioned, I wonder how high is the value of diversity for a small-scale farmer when he and she get seeds. Thank you, Clara. Thank you also for this first question. I'll be happy to answer them and share some thoughts. The production, diversified production, as we've just seen it in the Soul film, is the basic, is the fundament for diversity and mixed cultures. Apart from that, when one produces in a diverse way, one has diverse sources of income. Market prices can be influenced. Also, exchanges of cultures allow to compensate income. We have also noticed that producers who apply a diversified culture can also offer a more resistant, a more resilient produce. If we don't have enough water, then we can change to something else. If pesticides, vermine has to be fought against, one can change, or through diversified cultures, one can adapt to all those situations and improve the income. Of course, if a rich diversity is practiced, then there will be interactions between all the cultures followed, and this too guarantees a more safe and sound and healthy ecosystem. As you said, as far as resources, raw materials concerned, we have to take care of factors such as water, such as soil, such as volumes of rain, and plants cultures can be optimized according to the season. Some plants are very difficult and have their own characteristics, are capable of fighting against vermin by themselves, can also, like legumes, can also fight against air pollution. All this seems very, very interesting, and I think it really corresponds to what Biovision has decided to follow as a key idea. Would you please give us some more details so that we all understand those factors a bit better? Let me jump on this train. Maybe some of you are here for the first time or have been following us for a longer period. Most of you know this graphic. You've seen it before. Biovision likes to come back to what we call the push-pull way of producing. It is a very interesting and effective organic, ecological way to proceed and to cultivate on the one hand, but it's also an excellent example to show what kind of potential this way of producing holds and really correspond in an optimal way to what we try to achieve. Briefly, to show you what it means, push-pull allows us to cultivate three species of plants. We plant between maize, for instance, which can also then have an effect on vermin. Vermin is attracted by the brachial grass, which you see placed left and right of the maize plants. That is where vermin also leaves their eggs, and these eggs will not develop. The modium also allows the soil to be enriched. It is a nutritious substance for the soil. That's why also the crops we have at the end of the season are far abundant. It also has a direct impact on what we call the sorcerer's seed. Sorcerer's weed is also killed along the process, and the sorcerer's weed can kill crops, whereas with this way of proceeding, those plants are attacked at a very young stage, so don't grow, will not develop into something dangerous. Another example for this systemic ways to proceed is to not consider plants individually, but as a group of individuals who have to survive and live and fight together. Here, a very simple image of cocoa production. On the right-hand side, you see what monoculture brings with crops between. We can't read these. Yes, here. The cocoa plant also allowed to throw off more crops Bananas also have developed thanks to the mixing with the cocoa cultures. And here you see in front of you the crops. Now, we've diversified slightly this way of cultivating. Here of the exam, you see 4 plants which interact with, of course, own characteristics. Let's see how crops develop when one proceeds this way with 4 species. This is a bio or an organic agroforesting system. We don't have cocoa only, and on this system you see that the crops are a bit lower, but if we add all the other crops, then we come to far higher results. And this is what you see. The crops are far more important. No chemical or synthetic ingredients have been used. The total results are comparable. Also because the incomes, when cumulated, are identical. What we also see is that the number of species, be it insects or birds or soil productions, is far more diversified. As this project, which we've just presented, is part of an international program of the FIBL, which is a Swiss-based laboratorium center. And here in these various countries, you see how this project has been developing in Bolivia, in Kenya, and in India. It also allows us to compare the ways which we cultivate, the ways which we produce, and see which brings more or better. The entire project, if you're interested in, because I don't have enough time to give you all the details, can of course contact us afterwards, and I'll be very happy to give you more details and even something in writing. I'd be very happy to develop this part of the information. I myself will develop and deepen my knowledge concerning Kenya, also by collaborating with the ICP Institute, which is this insect research laboratory. Here, as a summary, what does this comparison look like between the 3 countries we just mentioned? We use conventional and traditional cultures first, compared to organic or biological ways of procedure. The intensity of the culture can also vary. We have a cash crop oriented way of producing, which also implies far more invested capital, whereas the low input for small scale farmers demands more work, definitely, but also implies that one works on smaller fields and allows people to work locally, to produce locally, to cultivate locally. This SysCom project, which we really delved in, doesn't, as I said, doesn't only concern Kenya and Bolivia, but it allows us to compare those projects, meaning that we do not only lead or carry out experiments. What we also do is to have laboratories or experiments shared between farmers, and then compare those 2 elements who can either optimize and complement each other or could exclude each other. The small-scale partners, of course, benefit from the results of those larger project leaders and experts. At the same time, all the infos received, all the knowledge received can be experimented by small-scale farmers in front of their own doors. And the results obtained can also then be passed on or transferred to the larger systems. And this is something where we will come back to in a moment. Fundamentally speaking, Swisscom has been examining rotations of 3 years, with, amongst other things, maize, as you see here, also potatoes and legumes. So, results. I won't want to bore you with all those figures and statistics. even more so as those figures cannot be explained in full detail today. So let's come to the main info you might want to take back home from this. Very often when we examine, analyze organic or ecological production cement, we also have to compare the costs and the proceeds, costs and results for society and for the soils. Of course, we can't stress the fact that the number of species has developed, has become far more varied, which is something very positive, of course, or that the soil health, soil fertility has improved still. Once we have come up with such result, the Swisscom project shows us, or has also showed us, that those systems in tropical countries can also bring to compatible results as the traditional system. Of course, techniques used are an important factor, and the kind of species we plant also play a role. But in the results by Swisscom, we have also noticed that soil fertility, soil health has been optimized. Again, that diversity in plants, insects, animals altogether have been enriched over the time, that there is a market for such produce and products, and that the farmers too earn better than they have done before. Another important factor, or another result that appeared in those results, is that specifically in vegetable produce, the presence of vermin and also pests has been dropping, and thus allowing incomes to go up. Here are some more figures for you to take a look at. Going back to 2011, 2014, 2017, 2020, the results, the crops coming from bean produce, again applied in this 3-year rotation system, Kenya. And again, examining the results 3 years later. As you can see, the differences are quite remarkable, quite noticeable with the traditional systems and the organic way of proceeding in blue. 2014, a series of environment conditions had a strong impact on the produce. 2017, those diversifications were also very, very important. And 2020, as you see, the produce has been increasing immensely thanks to an organic way of proceeding. Why, you might ask us, why did the beans throw off far more in 2020 than with traditional planting system? Of course, we need support from science. We need support from different techniques, and I'm very happy to welcome now Nancy Mwende and Felix Matheda from Nairobi, who play in Nairobi.
Liebe Gäste, ich werde die nächsten Minuten eher in Englisch weitersprechen. Wenn Sie eine Übersetzung brauchen, bitte ich Sie, die Kopfhörer aufzusetzen. Ansonsten geht es auch ohne Kopfhörer weiter. Nancy and Felix, wonderful that you're here on stage at the Biovision Symposium. I'm glad you made it. So good to have you here. You've been working with for more than almost 5 years actually at ECP in this Swisscom project, whereas Nancy is mostly doing lab experiments and screenhouse experiments evaluating best practices in organic pest management. And Felix, you're then testing the innovations and results that are coming from the Swisscom project and bringing them to a real open field setting where you experiment together with farmers on the results.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Great to have you here. So, can the two of you somehow explain me a little bit what is behind this change that we experienced in 2020 in the organic system? Were there any changes in how you did the experiment? What are the reasons for that?
Oh, as you had alluded earlier on, that there is a considerable yield losses in the organic vegetable production system due to price pressure Our team took initiative to look at this problem in a holistic manner, where we had to take integrated pest approaches to manage the pest. And some of these innovations which we came out with were to improve the soil nutrients for the crop. As we all know that an healthy plant has an advantage to counter the attack of pest. So we went further to review the commercial biopesticides and also homemade plant extracts which were being used at long-term experimental systems. And we also considered the use of companion cropping and also sticky traps to manage the pest. Thus, we can be in a position to say that all these interventions could have contributed to the high yields experienced in French beans seasons in 2020.
Okay, wow, that's super interesting, Nancy. So actually what I said before in the beginning of my presentation when talking about diversity, integrating diversity, it seems like you have some of these approaches already integrated in Syscom as well. But of course, you don't take them and just start in a long-term experiment and make big changes in how you're working on these experiments. So what are the steps that you're actually taking before you take these new approaches to the field?
Oh, of course, the first step is to have focus groups with farmers to evaluate what they're using and if it's effective. In our case, we held focus groups to discuss about the plant extracts which they were using, and we evaluated their efficacy, and we also went back to our LT systems to check on the commercial biopesticides which we were using, and we brought all this to the lab to carry out some experiments. Lab conditions are usually controlled, so we expect in lab the results which we expect they are at optimal. So I can take you through some of the results we got after making some adjustments to these products. For example, in the first bar shows fermented homemade plant extracts. That's the treatment which farmers were using. And in our case, we tested these products and to control aphids in cabbages. And as you can see, the mortality levels were below 10%. So we made some improvements. That is, instead of fermenting the plants for 14 days, we soaked the plants for 1 day, and also did some adjustments with the concentrations. And as you can see, after doing these adjustments, the plant extracts were effective in the management of aphids. From the graph, we can see that after the improvement, we were able to achieve almost 70% mortality, which was comparable to commercial biopesticides. Why are we rooting for these homemade plant extracts? One, they are locally available and easy to make, so that makes it easy for farmers to be able to use them easily to manage the crop, the pest in their farms.
What a wonderful example of how actually the Syscom project learns from what's already existing at the farmer level and builds up and improves the knowledge that is already around.
We have a project where we call it a participatory on-farm project. And in this project, we normally interact with farmers, and we are able to test these innovations with the farmers and see where there are challenges, and also improve on the innovations. And after we get the improved innovations, we are able to feed them to long-term trials.
This sounds impressive, Nancy. So this now represents the results you have from your lab experiment, yeah, where we made small adjustments to these plant-based extracts and managed to improve them. So what is the next step when you tested, after you tested in a lab? What happens next?
In lab conditions, as I've already alluded to, these are controlled environments. So if a product proves to be effective under lab conditions, we have to take it to semi-field conditions, which happens to be screenhouse. And after we find out that they're effective, we take them to the open field settings. In our case, we found out that our plant extract, that is the improved plant extracts, were effective in semi-open field, semi-field conditions, that is at a greenhouse, so we had to take them to open farm field. And as you can see from the graph here, where we have a sole crop, where no interventions was done, the abundance of aphids, which happened to be the pest for the cabbage, was high. But where we have the crop and the intervention has been done, that is application of this improved plant extract, the populations came down, meaning the plant extracts were effective in the management of cabbage in the systems.
And we talk here about the abundance of the aphids, Läuse. What about, well, on one hand, you measure the damage and the abundance of the insect, but what happens to the yields after that?
It's important to note that when the pest pressure is high, definitely it will affect the yield. But if we manage to control the pest pressure, that is in the case aphids, the yields are expected to go up. So for example, in our results here, we can see where we have sole crop, where no interventions were done, the yields were lower. But where we have the cabbage crop and interventions were done to manage the cabbage aphid, the yields went high. But we did not stop there.
Yeah, because I could also, from what I said in the beginning, or where I reflected a bit, I could also imagine that bringing in some more diversity into this system could make it even more productive and pest control more effective.
Yeah, and that's where my friend Felix comes in. He has some more interesting results to share with us.
Yeah, Fabian, the story, the road didn't end there. We looked forward to addressing the challenge of organic vegetable production with the basis of the farmer information we got from the farmers. My colleague already mentioned about the plant extracts. But we also realized the farmers had more information, that they were using companion cropping, that is intercropping with a crop that had benefits to the plant, mainly on insect pest management. And we found out that the farmers, through focus group discussions, that they were they were working with the Tagetes minuta, or Mexican marigold, if you want. And they were also working with the capsicum or chili. They were also working with spring onion to see if they could reduce the populations of the pests in their fields. They were also doing coriander, but that was not much adopted. We ran some side experiments, of course, to have the basics, and we realized that some of them were really working, indeed, like Tagetes minuta, but guess what? It was ending at the field. Nobody consumes Tagetes minuta in the diets. So coriander was a better alternative. It was having similar results, and you could still feed on coriander in your diet. And therefore, we adopted it as a companion plant for our trials, and we set out to experiment to continue the experiments with the farmers. So we, of course, collected data of the pest populations in the fields, and I will speak about aphids. It's a very critical pest of cabbage. As you see on the data displayed there, sole cropping, which is no intervention, the pest populations, the aphid populations were high. And what my colleague just showed earlier, the sole crop plus botanicals, the second bar, was really working well. But of interest to us is the intercropping, where we just intercropped with coriander and no other spraying. And you can see we had interesting yields. They were really comparable with the use of plant extracts. But much further, integrating the two approaches, that is use of botanicals and also use of intercrop, the companion plant, reduced the populations of the aphids even much further, as you can see on the last bar. Thank you.
But Felix, speaking maybe for myself and maybe for some people here in the audience, maybe the strong smell of coriander, at least for me, it would keep me away from quite some meals.
Yeah.
Are there similar effects that you could observe for the case of aphids?
Oh yeah. Initially, we actually thought aphids will be thrown away from the plots just by intercropping with coriander because of the smell. I see you also related the aphids. But we realized that on top of weeding away the insect pests through the smell, coriander also attracted natural enemies and therefore was more diverse, and the plots would utilize the natural enemies to weed away the insects, to feed on the insects. For example, you can see the beautiful hoverfly and the ladybird. In the plots where we intercropped with coriander alone as an intercrop, we realized the higher populations of hoverfly, for example, and therefore intercropping into pest management strategies is a good thing for a farmer, for better production.
Well, wonderful, Felix, to see how on various levels this is actually working, and how nature-based solutions without the use of any additional chemical inputs actually bring us such beautiful results.
Yep.
But now we've talked about the abundance again of aphids,
yeah,
and about the beneficial insects. What's in consequence then the effect you can see in the yields?
Oh yeah, we got some interesting results in the yields. How about we look at it together? In the plots where we planted, we sprayed with botanicals compared to sole cropping. Indeed, we realized higher yields. Of course, my colleague mentioned earlier, because a plant that is less infested is guaranteed to give much higher yield than that is much infested. And therefore, we now look at intercropping with coriander alone. Our yields, as you can see, match the ones of spraying with plant extracts, the homemade plant extracts that my colleague just mentioned earlier. By the way, and integrating the two approaches once again, that is use of intercropping and also use of plant extract sprayings, increased the yields by significant levels for the treatments that we use, the integrated approaches. Of interest, again, I mentioned earlier that it could be good if we get much of whatever is happening in the field to get into the dinner dishes. We realize yield of coriander, so it's more yield for the plots that we are intercropping with coriander. So we find that very diverse and good for the families.
It's such a beautiful example. Of course, I don't hear it for the first time,
yep,
but every time Felix talks about it, I'm fascinated by the potential that lies in these approaches. So you don't even have use approaches that are based on solutions that really come from nature, from without having and really on local resources. But then the beautiful additional effect of, besides having an ecological solution, even have an additional benefit from the harvest of coriander.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, taking you back one step to the question I asked you in the beginning, on the effect you observed in the long-term system comparison trials. What are your learnings now from these cabbage side experiments?
Yeah, Fabian, a lesson or a learning is as good as adopted. So therefore, from these lessons that we have learned from these experiments, of course, first of all, we went back to the farmers and told them our experiences, and we also recommended the adoption of the long-term experiments in our SysCom trials in Kenya. And we feel that these, together with other interventions, the holistic or systemic approaches that were implemented in the year 2020, could be the contributing factor to the very, very positive yields that we are realizing in the year 2020 compared to the other years.
Okay.
Yes.
So, of course, we can't yet talk of a clear connection to these results, to all the individual measures you have in place. But we're really looking forward to see more of these results in the future years. 2021, you said, is when you expect to test this on cabbage?
Yeah, because this is in 2020, when we recommended the technologies, is when we had French bean, and we look forward to even much more exciting results in the cabbage season.
Great, fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope the audience as well. Thank you so much, Felix. Thank you so much, Nancy. I mean, this is fantastic research that you showed here, and it really gives me a good feeling, and I think that there are good solutions on the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, I would like to bring to attention of the audience that we could not have made it alone without the help of our able partners, Phoebe, Isipe, Carol, Koan, and our able donors to leverage on sustainable organic vegetable systems. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nancy, for can I say something? Stay another minute. We're not yet done. We're not yet done. Thank you very much for the acknowledgement to Biovision, to the audience here, to the other donors who also support the SysCom project. But actually, Nancy and Felix, you're part of a big group of international researchers. And here, it might be worth to quickly mention that this team, your team, just 2 days ago was awarded with an important international research prize. So please, take a look. I'm changing back to German now. Liebe Gäste, schauen Sie mal ein bisschen nach rechts, schauen Sie nach links.
Have a look to the right, have a look to the left. In the audience, take a look upstairs to the ranks upstairs, and you might recognize a few faces in spite of the masks we have to work. On this picture, some of the people are sitting amongst us right now. This is the team which landed which in Barcelona 2 days ago received the new prize, the Shift Prize for agro research, transformational agrofinance. And of course, we have received a few impressions and why this prize was so well deserved. All the exchange with local farmers, teaching, learning together the way to examine and to analyze results and yields, to transform and adapt the way to analyze, to work in a laboratory. Also the systemic way of considering and of analyzing things, and very pertinent results have also led to this prize. Therefore, I would really ask the audience to give a very warm applause to the entire team who came up with such fantastic results.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you. Danke, Nancy. Danke, Felix, für diese schönen Momente. We'll be here for the rest of the week, the entire week, I believe, and we'll be working for and with FRBL. So thank you, Fabian, for having stayed on stage. As you mentioned, the push-pull system a few minutes ago, you were on the road, I believe, and have also discovered a new pioneer system. Yes, true. And the impressions were very, very impressive. Maybe some of you can remember 2014. We welcomed a guest, Beryl Munikau, who has left a permanent impression on most of us. She started to apply a push-pull on her own plot of land, resulting with excellent yields very rapidly. Thanks to push-pull, thanks to the push-pull approach, the yields could be allowed her to be recognized, to be applauded, to be appraised by not only her family but younger generations of farmers. And during our last visit in Kenya, we managed to see her, to visit her, and we would love to share the impressions we had there. Go ahead, film.
I'm Berry Latieno from Kenya. I was in Switzerland some time back, which was in 2014, during the symposium in Zurich. I was so much overjoyed to travel to Switzerland because of the hard work that I do in Kenya. And I can say that I started Pushpull as a young farmer, and it has made me be what I am today. First of all, I was given the poorest farm. Before I started planting Pushpull, it used to produce 2 kgs to 3 kgs. The first time I adopted Pushpull, I got 40 kgs, which is 1 sack of maize. And then After that, we plant twice a year, whereby my plot produced the best compared to even the plots that my parents have. My parents have 3/4 of the land. I got 2 sacks of maize, 2 sacks and a half, compared to my parents where they harvested 1 sack. And I can say the produce sustained my family until the next plantation again. I'm now the breadwinner of my family. I can say Pushpull is the backbone of whom Beryl is today. I was shy before, but now I'm strong and I can do great things if I'm only given that chance. I had passion with the internet, where I opened a cyber cafe with 3 computers in a small room. So I started the business of cyber cafe with the reason of supporting the people living with disability and also the youths at large. And also people can use the internet to Google, do other things, do research. My wish is, if God allows me, I expand this cafe so that I can accommodate many people who are outside, especially my people living with disability. I have passion for people with disability because I'm in their shoe. The achievements that I've achieved is because of you people, the courage that you gave me, and the support that you are giving me, and the love that you showed unto me. I'll also motivate others to become Pushpull farmers, and the message of Pushpull shall continue growing and growing and growing. Yeah.
Super. Ganz herzlichen Dank, Fabian, dass du das noch mit uns geteilt hast. Du kriegst auch noch mal einen Applaus. Du hast einen nicht unwesentlichen Teil gerade gestaltet.
Applause even more for you. Applause for Fabian, and we'll see you back on stage in a few minutes.
Das ist doch beeindruckend.
Wow, how much courage and know-how it takes to cultivate a field, and you know what courage it needs and what adversities the farmers have to deal and cope with. And this knowledge is not only spreading in Kenya, no, it's also needed in many other countries, such as Tanzania. In the year 2011, Janet Marrow and Alexander Vostri formed and founded Sustainable Agriculture Tanzania. Their training on sustainable farming methods have long been established, and now they are getting very successful, and they are now involved in marketing also very successfully. And this year, in the year 2021, they received the One World Award, a very prestigious award. And we would like to take a closer look at their activities by this film.
Welcome to Morogoro. With this small shed and $200, Janet and Alex started Sustainable Agriculture Tanzania, also known as SAT, 10 years ago. The small Garden of Solidarity became an impressive organic training farm. It's also home for the head office and most of the 70 team members, as well as for the processing and marketing unit. The finest of organic products are temptingly displayed and of course sell very well. Kilomohai means celebrating organic farming with song and dance. Farmers train farmers and proudly display their certification. Women take a leadership role in farming groups, with the next generation lining up. 3 pillars of economic success are crop diversification, farmer enthusiasm, and a supportive educational community. Most impressive is the conflict resolution project between the nomadic Maasai and settled farmers. The Maasai trade livestock manure for hay bales, which stops disputes over land use. SAT also helps to improve grazing land and store rainwater. Peacemaking with organic farming is worth a dance. This new training centre is well suited for the high demand for educational capacity building programs. This is especially important for the younger generation. Healthy plants provide bumper harvests, and animal waste provides biogas used for energy production and nutrients to improve soil health. New housing is being built for the many students and guests. For Janet and Alex, the future is organic. Kilimo Hai, organic agriculture and the success of SAT are both good reasons to party the African way.
Es ist einfach unglaublich, was man alles erreichen kann, wenn man denn möchte, wenn man...
This is really impressive to see what can be achieved if you just have the means and you want to do it. And I think the two have really shown that it is possible, and I think it's great that they have been awarded with this wonderful prize. Yes, it's really worth an applause.
Im Film haben wir schon kurz gesehen.
As we just saw in the film, the entire concept of marketing and of sales plays a major part. Of course, we'd love to take all of you to Tanzania and show you exactly what happens there. It's not possible to have another flight today, but Alexander Watley was friendly enough to take us along on a tour on his farm. I'll have to warn you, you will see a video that is very authentic. So why not use your headphones? You'll be listening or be understand the entire film in 3 languages. There are apparently some problems with the headphones. It's not the interpreters, it's the technique for once. But you will be able to see all this again at home. So take a look at the film. It will be with or without interpretation according to the languages heard. You've just finished sorting out the codes, haven't you? Fine, now start the machine. My name is Alex Wostry. I am the manager of the SAT Holistic Group Limited. I'm also the CEO of Sustainable Agriculture Tanzania. As you see, I've just left the proceeding room. And let's take something from sales. This here is a wonderful hibiscus tea, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the tea that we give to our donors. Also donors at Biovision. A small example to show you how we try to link our biological products to the market. Which is something wonderful, because our network now counts some 3,000 farmers who all benefit from this high salmon.
Good. I heard you are currently preparing for the black pepper training.
Yes, we are currently preparing the black pepper training, which will commence on 22nd to 25th to 28th on the 3 project areas, so as to capacitate the farmer-to-farmer facilitators on the principle of black pepper and the technical management of the black pepper nurseries.
Nice, nice.
So 10 groups which are good on pepper production will benefit from the training, and will later on establish a minimum of 10,000 black pepper nurseries and black pepper seeds.
Really impactful.
Yeah, it will be
And
really
what I'm
impactful.
happy about is the market is there. And with the improvements in this value chain, we can guarantee really excellent prices for the markets, and as well farmers practicing really good practices. It will be conserve the environment. That's
Yes.
fantastic,
So
and I'm
we are
happy
waiting-
about it.
Okay, so we are waiting for the external facilitator from Sokoine University of Agriculture.
Fantastic,
Okay.
fantastic. Have a nice day. I'm heading now to the shop, yeah? Bye. So, kurz mal einen Blick.
So let me take you to our bio-organic produce shop. Products that are sold throughout Tanzania. This is the small shop I mentioned before. We started it in 2013, where one can buy fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, delivered by more than 500 farmers. All you see here looks wonderfully. I myself love buying my vegetables and my fruit here. As you can see, we eat it, we use it every day. And I also know that this implies a lot of work based on, as I say, a vast network of smarkers who are linked to the market. But once again, what we do here is a true example of how innovation can help people, because so many organizations and governments also, other companies of the science, buy our products. We have some 5 shops in Tanzania right now, and we want to go on by showing this way of procedures and presenting it to other cities, to other villages, showing how organic way of productions can function. And join me inside the shop to see what we sell here. Like in any supermarket products that we sell here. So let's go on to something even more enjoyable. My wife Janet will tell you far more about what we do.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Janet Marrow. Please come on stage.
Hi, Laura.
Thank you so much, Janet, that you're here right now. Fortunately, you didn't have to travel all the way from Tanzania, but you were in Austria, where Opa, as you call him, is looking after your kids right now. And maybe he's following the live stream. Thank you, Opa, for that. Alex mentioned it. Your work is like an innovation accelerator. What does he mean by that?
Yes, thank you very much, Laura, and thank you again. It's always a great pleasure to be able to be at the Biovision Symposium, and to build up on what Alex, it's a very nice video. No, I have been out of Tanzania for almost 2 weeks now, and just seeing the video, and I feel very emotional because it's home, and yes. The Innovation Accelerator, we use this at SAT because of the work we are doing. We work at the grassroots with farmers, and with pastoralists. These are indigenous groups of people. But we also work with other organizations. We collaborate, but we also do a lot of capacity building for staff of other organizations, also farmers from other organizations. We work with research institutions and training institutions, and we also collaborate with the government. So all this manifold approach with all the different stakeholders that we involve in our work, we build this innovation platform and a very good system of sharing feedback and information, and hence we are able to also improve our systems. As we all know, agroecological systems are very knowledge intensive, and there's still a lot of research that needs to be done to validate some of the practices, but also there is a lot of dissemination that is needed. So for us as SAT, we really collaborate and an innovation accelerator, because we do share this knowledge with various stakeholders and also bring the feedback back to the grassroots by the farmers. And farmers are part and parcel. Actually, they're the center of this innovation accelerator. Yeah.
Thank you. And actually, your organic shop in Morogoro, you founded it, I think, in 2012, and it is very successful. And therefore, you also just founded the SAT Holistic Group Limited. Can you explain us a bit more about that? What is the aim of the Holistic Group?
Yes, thank you very much. We started 12 years ago. Not 12 years ago, 2012, we opened the first organic shop in Tanzania. Again, it's one of those actions where when you take, when we took the action, we thought, okay, will it really work? Will there be customers? Will they get to demand these products? Will it work and all that? But now it's almost 10 years on the line, and indeed this shop became a huge success. It was so successful that we started receiving feedback and recommendation as to why are we operating a shop on the side as a non-governmental organization. Why don't we make it a formal entity, and that it will even be more beneficial for the farmers when there is such a formal entity. So we really thought carefully. Also, we made a lot of consultation on what model we could use. So the idea to have the SAT social enterprise with the SAT Holistic Group Limited came in. And the SAT Holistic Group Limited is a very innovative social enterprise in which farmers are not just collaborating and bringing products and selling products through the company, but they're shareholders of this company. So they own shares in the company. And also, at the moment, since it's still the company is still new, we expect in the future, and when the company is doing well and more revenues are generated in the company, so the farmers and the farmer cooperatives will be able to further get more returns for the products that are traded in the company, get better, reach better markets, but also for the returns they get, they can invest in different social enterprises, social activities, and community activities in the villages. And these activities, again, are decided by the farmers themselves, who are the shareholders of the company. So that's briefly about the SAT Holistic Group Limited. Yes. So it's a company, a social company, and it's with farmers as shareholders in this company. Yeah. And every product that is traded there, it's organic, either in conversion or organic certified by the farmers who are part of the network. Yes.
Until now, you focused on the marketing of organic products in Tanzania. And are there any plans to export in the future?
Yes, so since 2012, we have been working on the market in Tanzania, and we have we got a lot of experiences. As I mentioned in the beginning, even we asked ourselves, we're putting up a shop, will it really work? While the notion of organic products produced in Tanzania is, it's for the export market, it's for the wealthy people, it's for the rich people, and things like that. So our slogan when we started was healthy organic food for Tanzanians. So every Tanzanian should be able to consume healthy organic food. So it gave us the motivation to have more and more production and supply of this healthy organic food. And we've seen for horticultural products, we still, it has been growing, and the demand has been increasing locally in the Tanzanian market. We have also seen new outlets and new businesses coming up as well, which do organic products. So we also supply and help to build new entrepreneurs in organic products, because once these businesses are established, and if we can ensure them with a regular supply of the products, then these companies or these businesses can grow. So for this, we do also packaging and branding for some of these young and coming up companies. And for that, it helps to capture the Tanzanian market. And as Alex said, our products are in several outlets, several retail outlets in Morogoro, also in Dar es Salaam, and a bit in Dodoma, which is now the new capital city of Tanzania. And we've seen this increasing market potential in Tanzania, but also we see that we have some surplus production, for example, on spices. And this is an opportunity that this surplus can be sold also outside the borders of Tanzania. So with the SAT Holistic Group Limited, we foresee also being able to export products out of Tanzania to other countries. And we are very lucky and happy with the collaboration of Biovision and the linkage. Last year, we were able to send some spices to Gebana. I think Elvira will be here later as well from Gebana. So that was a trial. And we are working hard to support farmers that they're able to produce good quality products, but also do some of the harvesting, post-harvest management, and also basic processing and value addition, that we get really high quality products for the local market, but also if we have the opportunities to sell for export as well, that at least the quality is good. So that a bit on the marketing part.
And tell me, Janet, are all the farmers as enthusiastic about this as you are?
Well, yes, indeed, the motivation, I say really and honestly, if it wasn't the motivation that we receive from the farmers we work with, maybe we would have, stopped somewhere. But the motivation is so big, and this really drives us and encourages us to think and also be creative and innovative and work together with the farmers. That we really we find joint solutions, but also we find joint opportunities and things that work. And I know some of you know Pius, some of you have met Pius, and on the video for the One World Award, we were in the farm of Mama Mena. And Mama Mena today, she is attending a seed festival. She uses a lot of local seeds. So she's exhibiting her local seeds in a seed festival today. And we've seen next week from Monday, we have a training that is going on black pepper. And we know, maybe you don't know, but I know, and we know. In the black pepper training, we have farmers like Msakuzi, we have farmers like Agata. We also saw her on the video. And really, these farmers, men and women, we've seen pastoralists like Pendo, like Esther, and really the dedication and commitment towards producing healthy, nutritious food while taking care on the environment is so big and so encouraging, and there is no better driving force or driving energy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janet. This is your applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ja, das hat uns doch gezeigt.
Well, this showed that the more of the locally produced food is processed locally, the more the farmers can also benefit from it. But leaving the added value entirely in the country of origin of the raw materials also involves risks. If a dehydrating machine breaks down, for example, there is no large corporation behind it to provide a new machine 2 hours later. Sometimes also you don't have the know-how, or you don't have the real material for processing. However, that you can still do fair trade is proven by the organization of our next guest, Gebana. For more than 20 years, they have not only been advocating fair trade, but also implementing it. Please join me in welcoming Elvira Zink, Head Supplier Development at Gebana.
Elvira, schön bist du bei uns.
Elvira, wonderful that you are with us. See, this basket of fruits is just brought on stage. And here, I think we don't have apples and bananas. And in the 70s, there were a few women that thought, how can it be that 1 kilo of bananas cost less than 1 kilo of Swiss apples? And this gave rise to founding Gebana, and since the end of the 1990s, you have been engaged in fair trade. And well, how important it is for you, fairness, and what does the local value mean and creation play in this? Yes, thank you very much for inviting us. Yes, we are very, very proud. We remember the women that went on to streets in the 70s and just said that there is actually a problem if the bananas cost less than the apple. And it was also about the price that the farmers in the south received for their bananas. And at that time, the so-called banana women said they want to do it themselves. And a few years later, they actually imported the first container of their own banana. And later, actually, we were founded. We wanted to have fair trade bananas. And it's still the triggering power. What we say is, well, we do it ourselves. We have a web shop in Switzerland and in the neighboring countries. And the important thing is we are not seeing ourselves as traders that is buying up wonderful products and then offering them onto the market, good quality and lots of labels. No, we go locally and we try to develop supply chains, even in those places that have no good infrastructure. And we also would like to offer the space for new products and new infrastructures. And these are the projects that are very close to our heart. And we have some external partners and a great assortment of our products. Wonderful. If I understood you correctly, the local value that you are adding is just one of the instruments. How else are you implementing your vision of fair trade? Well, for us, it's important to see what we do where. The adding value locally needs to benefit the farmers and the local population. And we work with family-oriented structures with small farmers, and we do not want primarily to have established products such as those all-grown bananas. This is why we are now developing a supplier chain in Togo with fresh fruits. And as you know, that Togo is now heading the statistics in this respect. So you try to find the shortest way from the producer to the consumer. Yes, well, one should think that it's then cheaper, but that's mostly not the case if there's a direct way from the field to the fork. We have a lot of certified companies. We have certain premiums, and also internally at Gebana, we pay 10% of the sales price. For example, what we offer at the web shop, we pay back to the farmers during the season. We did that last year, for example. 200,000 euro were paid back to Burkina Faso and was distributed among 2,500 farmers. That impacted a lot of work to see that and to organize the whole transfer. But it was possible to do it over so-called mobile payments, so that the people didn't have to walk around with a lot of money in their pockets. So this is what we do step by step for the most important products that we have on offer. There's still a lot of work to do, but the farmers locally were enthusiastic about it. And we have lots of other projects as well, because we are represented in countries where sometimes infrastructures are not there. We don't have the huge economies of scales. We need good roads. We need good lines, and so on. Now, in more practical terms, who is actually benefiting from the creation of local value? First of all, it's the farmer, because he can earn his livelihood. He has ways and means to export. We support the farmers in the case of organic farming. We have some projects for the dynamic agroforest production. We have also jobs that we create, and we hope that in future we are also enhancing the local economy by building new production lines at production sites. And here we work with local construction companies, and we have the suppliers of all the varied products and materials that are needed. But what about the risks? Can you tell us where a project didn't really end with success and you had to break down? Well, I can give you a few examples. When it comes to quality, we didn't have to stop a project, but of course we run into difficulties time and again and challenges that we have to meet. We heard about the insects in cultivation. We also have insects in processing after cultivation and after the yield and harvest, and especially in organic farming, this is a huge challenge, because in the conventional marketing and commercialization of the products are gassed just to make sure that nothing survives the transport. And there are no insects arriving in Europe, but we cannot do that in the case of organic farming. That's why we have to look for other solutions. For example, we have insect control, we have pest controls, we have the sticky papers, which are only applied in the whole processing chains, and still sometimes it's not enough. An example of Burkina Faso. Yes, you see here the example. For many years, we started to pack the mangoes under use of nitrogen and under safe and clean air conditions. But still it happens that sometimes a moth sits on the mango, but we see it and we try to get it before it develops. And we still have problems despite the fact that it was all airtight. And in Burkina Faso, we had no supplier of packing machines that are actually able to pack under clean air conditions and under tight air conditions. And we actually thought of having a Swiss supplier. He came to visit us in Burkina Faso and trained the technicians. And we did all kinds of things. For example, we exchanged the gas. Now it's only nitrogen that we use. That's much better, because the mixing was just not correct. And sometimes we ran into the problem that the bags came and arrived in a vacuum space. And actually, we ended up with not very nice products. They couldn't actually open the package. It was just a lump of products of mango. Yes, I remember you had problems with dates in the past. Same thing, same story. In the south of those countries, there's a lot of insects, and these fruits attract the insects. We needed specific control solutions, and we tried all sorts of ways and means. We have the good partner down there, not our own company, but we just support financially our partner there. And we try to do something with CO2, but for the last 4 years, we are deep freezing those dates. And that means that the insects cannot survive because they are deep frozen for 2 years. And we have wonderful quality, no insects in the dates once they arrive. But of course, it needs energy. This is one of the trade-offs we have to accept just for quality, just to control the pests. You can see it's not easy to do everything correctly. But at any rate, you had a wonderful vision just to bring the products here to Europe. I question myself when these products end up here and cannot be resold. What do you do with them? Are you just throwing them out? Yes, that's true. Sometimes we do receive problematic supplies, and here we try to apply several solutions. But it's very rare that we have to throw out something all together. But of course, if there's a risk to health, we have to do that. We try to save the product. We hope that we can, for example, give a rebate. And for example, look at this picture. This is very specific. It just comes from a few weeks ago. We received persimmon fruits from Greece, and these look wonderful, but some part of the fruits were far too ripe. And with our neighbors that had the same stand, it was the Wart 21 from Grassroot Company, and we just were very fast in organizing one project and one action, and we tried to attract the customers to buy these ripe fruits in no time. And that's what happened. And it was just great. The consumers came and they bought the ripe fruits. And sometimes we can sell to industry for further processing. And in the past, we once also used alcohol and created a wonderful schnapps. Just some ideas. Yes, thank you very much that you joined us on stage. And this is your applause. Thank you very much, Elvira, for coming here.
Ja, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, wir nähern uns der Pause.
We'll have a break in a few minutes, but before we come to the break, allow me to ask my colleagues from Biovision to come on stage, and we will now proceed to a small publicity presentation. So, would you now want to enjoy a cup of hibiscus tea after the presentation of Alex, or are you looking for some kind of sustainable present for the Christmas season? Why not come and walk up to one of our stands, Hans Herren? You'll also find the book of Hans Herren with his own signature. Stephanie Hess will be there for all kinds of practical tips for more sustainability in everyday life. The author is with us at our stand, and she too will be more than happy to sign your example of the book. Have you ever listened to what lives and what happens in the soil? The soil is something very, very much alive. Why not come up to the first floor? You can get a set of headphones and hear what happens under our feet. Do you know how far a bee has to fly before her produce can enable us to fill a full glass of honey? All those questions are waiting for you at the agriculture quiz, one floor higher above. And maybe with a bit of luck, you might be walking out of here with a prize. By the way, the answer is 120,000 kilometers for the poor bee to fly. You've heard about our various projects, like I do, for instance, and to hear about mango that is filled in this little ball and why it comes from Ethiopia, or what this radio has to do with Tanzania. Why not come and visit us too and stop at our stand? I am holding a conventional, traditional, and a organic coffee. The way they are produced differentiate a lot. With organic coffee, the diversity of insects, animals in the area is much higher. With the selection I decide to buy has also a direct influence on sustainability. What about you? What about you? Are you sustainable? Do you reflect on everything you buy before you take it back home? Test at our stand, one floor higher up. The Sustainable Development Solution Network also invests ourselves as much that the aims which were defined at the COP23 are also implemented in Swiss. We in Switzerland are part of the world champions by sending what we produce to other countries. What do we do in Switzerland? There's something we can explain to you at our stand, also one floor higher, and why we all need you. We need all of you to realize our Agenda 2023. Thank you, boys and girls, dear friends. For all people who are following us by streaming and for the people here in the audience, have an enjoyable break. We'll see you again at 4 o'clock in this room and, of course, online in the live stream. Let me add that there are a series of personalized dossiers waiting for you at the entrance. So if you did not yet pick up your own copy, don't hesitate. Walk back to the entry. See you again at 4 o'clock sharp.